Yo, take several seats. I'm about to gift you with the most goated story time ever. Alright, so boom. It was Halloween night, sky looking like Netflix buffering, moon soft launching behind clouds like, hey bestie, I'm dramatic. My GC, the Lulu committee, was like, Jay, go to the haunted house on Dead End Lane or you're soft. And I'm like, bet, but I'm over here on the down low like, shit, I am soft, but also I'm main character coded, so I said less. I put on my hoodie, popped my AirPods in, noise cancellation on, immersion 100%, queued a bussing playlist and pulled up. The house? Given landlord forgot about it during a side quest. Windows crusty like they'd been washed in dish soap. Paint peeling like sunburnt tourists. The doorknob had tetanus. The sign on the fence said, keep out, and I whispered, okay boomer, and climbed over it anyway because literacy's optional when your clout's on the line. My fam, aka my friends who would absolutely film my funeral for Vertical, were across the street behind a bush, streaming me on live like, oh my god chat, he's actually doing it, drop skulls. I waved because I'm humble like that, and also, I like attention. Self-aware queen. Someone in chat said, if you die, can I have your keyboard? Rude, but low-key valid. That keyboard's actually goated. It lights up like a rave every time I type. The door creaked open like a rusty hinge reading poetry. Inside, the air instantly did a Tesco freezer aisle challenge. Floorboards complaining like boomers on Facebook. They don't make houses like they used to. No cap thought someone was going to jump scare me with, when I was your age, this used to be all fields. There was sticky shit all over the floor. Cobweb aesthetic 9000. For real, I was like, these cobwebs ruined my Jordans. I'ma have a menti B. A spider looked at me like I owed it 2 months' rent plus a late fee. I said, hey bestie, and sidestepped it because I respect tenants' rights. First room on the left, living room without the living. Couch bulky and floral. Defo failed every vibe check since 1996. TV that looks like it stores government secrets. Mantle with dusty picture frames. All faces blurred out like witness protection. I'm poking around with my phone torch, narrating like I'm David Attenborough for feral teenagers. And here we see the natural habitat of the British ghost. A semi-detached with chronic damp and unresolved taxes. Chat dropping skull emojis and POV, you get tetanus. Someone typed, lick the walls. Reported. I wander deeper. The house smells like mildew, expired soup, and British public transport. Wallpaper hanging like lasagna sheets. I low-key liked it. Very cottagecore, if the cottage had a criminal record. I kept the camera on my face, moneymaker, but also flicked it around for ambience. Every once in a while, the floor went eee, and I went, same. Kitchen time. Sink full of brown water that looks like tea cosplay. Cupboards whispering slurs. I could tell. Fridge unplugged and angry about it. There's a single plate on the table with a fork on it like someone rage-quit dinner in 2007. Group chat pinged me on the watch. Mia. Bro, you in yet? Taz. Jump scare or I'm leaving. Nora. Ask the ghost its star sign. Me. Aries. Nora. No, I meant the ghost. Me. Ovs Aries, because duh. Anyway, I keep exploring. Doing my best slasher movie protagonist impression, but with self-preservation unlocked. I didn't say, hello, anyone there? Because I'm not trying to get eaten by law. I passed the hallway mirror. It was giving fun house if the fun died. I looked mid. I blow myself a kiss anyway because self-love. Behind me, the hall was long, like British winters. Drafty. The ceiling did a little crack like it wanted to collapse, then decided to gatekeep. Then I saw the stairs. Listen, if you ever met stairs that simply vibe wrong, you know. These stairs were like walking up your ex's Instagram. Every step you take comes with a noise you can't emotionally process. The banister was sticky. I'm not going to ask with what. And the carpet? Patterned with mysterious stains that looked like they spelled out leave in wingdings. I went, whoop, stairs arc, on stream, and the chat went feral. Someone donated £1.79 with the message, touch grass. I touched the banister instead because I'm rebellious, and maybe illiterate. First step, squeak, like a mouse auditioning for opera. Second step, crunch, like cereal. Third step, the left side dipped and I dipped with it, and I said, I'm not built for earthquakes. I breathed out a little giggle because the house low-key had timing. Upstairs, the hallway yawned open like a horror DLC. Cold. Colder than the downstairs. Colder than the look your mum gives you when you say, I'll clean it later. My breath fogged. I was low-key spooked, but if I didn't rizz it up, I knew I was about to get toads ratioed. Lights? None. There was a single busted bulb hanging from the ceiling like, spare change? I used my phone torch and immediately hated on it. It made everything look like a found footage docu about mould and murders. There were 4 doors. Left, 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 right, right, left, right, right. Pick your fire. I pointed at the first one and went, eeny, meeny, miny, mid, and opened it. Bedroom 1. Bed frame with no mattress. Just dusty slats like malnourished ribs. A wardrobe half open. Inside, nothing but a wire hanger and a curse. Wallpaper had tiny boats. Every tiny boat had a tiny hole like someone had gone through it with a biro and stabbed history. A draft slid under the closed window and touched my ankle like, hey babe. I said, no. And it said, okay, and left. Consent king. Second door, bathroom. Clawfoot tub with a ring around it so aggressive my mum would have crashed out. A cracked mirror with help scrawled in what was probably ketchup. I sniffed it. Still probably ketchup. Ick. The toilet had a plant growing out of it. Not metaphorically, an actual fern. He looked healthy. I named him Fernando and told the chat to say hi. Chat. Oh my god, hi Fernando. Wholesome. I might take some pics later and sell them as an NFT. Third door, small room, child vibes. Not like, ooh, spooky child, just whoever lived here collected dust and possibly stickers. A little bookshelf, 3 books, Pride and Prejudice, Some Guy's Diary 1999, and a council tax letter with final warning underlined. I saluted the letter and whispered, we've all been there. Then I heard it. Creak. Not me. Not the house settling. A footstep. Upstairs with me. Distinct. Slow. Like someone with all the time in the world and none of the rent. I cosplayed an owl and turned my head 90 degrees. I said, hello? JK, I'm not stupid. I just stopped breathing. The hair on my arms did the national anthem. The air temp dropped again like it went from Tesco freezer to my mum's attempt on saving money on the heating. Chat went, oh my god, it's behind you, turn around, skull, 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 skull. This stream cured my depression. JK, it made it worse. I'm turning the torch real slow. I'm like pretending time is honey. The beam dragged across the hallway wallpaper. Dust in the air twinkling like bootleg stars. And then... Guy. Translucent. old, giving Victorian cosplayer who lost the plot. Long coat, cravat. Yes, I know that word because I watched one period drama and now I'm CEO of history. He had shoes that probably clicked when he was alive, but now kind of hovered. He had a top hat. Top hat. I almost laughed out loud because, sir, what is this? Halloween City 2009? But I didn't because he had a presence that says, I bite. Not in a funny way. He stepped, floated, forward. Eyes pale like dead milk, and opened his mouth like the door of a haunted microwave. Then the noise. The classic haunted house MP3. Whoa! Leave this place, mortal. Ooh. It reverbed down the hallway, except the reverb glitched. Like the house had lag. The end of the woo just clipped off, like a badly edited TikTok. Leave this house, he said, voice layered like he had a chorus pedal. For these are hallowed grounds, and I... Bro, I said. He blinked. Blink, blink. The kind of blink that says his script just got unplugged. Hey, I said, very casually. You sound like a rejected Skyrim NPC. Like Dawn Guard DLC, but on dial-up. He did not move. I swear the temperature just got offended. What did you say? I said, okay, Boomer. I leaned on the doorframe like I was on break from my shift at the Afterlife. Also, be for real. Hallowed grounds? Your haunted laminate flooring, mate. He floated half an inch taller, like he thought making himself larger would equal authority. I died here in 1801. Bruh. Sus AF, I said immediately, pointing at the skirting boards. This is literally a council house built in 2003. I can smell the cheap gloss paint from the Tories era. Where you from? Right move. He didn't speak. He just did that old man jaw clench. The spot upon which this house is built over the bones of ancestors, I finished in my best ghost voice. I heard it. Respect to the ancestors or whatevs, but right now, you're giving fanfiction.com. Like you pulled your lore from a Reddit no-sleep post with 7 upvotes. He took a long, frosty breath he didn't need. His breath fog spelled question mark. I screenshotted it with my brain. You mock the dead? Absolutely, I said, because I'm authentic. I mock the living too. I'm equal opportunity annoying. He raised one hand like he was about to cast a curse or summon a parole officer. The shadows did a little dance and went, ooh, spooky, and then sat down again like they got tired. I yawned. I didn't, but I wish I did for comedic timing. Anyway, I continued. Real question. Why are ghosts always like Victorian? Where are all the 2016 ghosts popping up like, hey, it's Britney, but do not itch. I finished, because I'm committed to the bit. He stared at me like I just kicked over a tombstone and spelled ratio on it in glitter glue. What is a Britney? Oh, wow, I said, palm to chest. You really died pre-culture. Enough, he thundered, except it was more like enough, because halfway through, the audio cut again. I looked at the ceiling, like the house was pirating its own reverb. He seemed offended at the acoustics. You trespass. Leave or suffer. I would, but I'm mid-video, I said. Do you want clout? We can collab. Ghost V's guy with Wi-Fi. I'll tag you at Shallow Grave 1801. That is not... He pinched his nose like he had a headache, despite lacking blood. Why are the youth like this? Skill issue, I said. The ghost made a face like he had to Google skill issue. I stepped out into the hallway properly and circled him like we were in a boss fight, but I knew the boss's weak spot, being roasted. He drifted to face me every time I moved, cape coat swishing in silence like it had an ASMR channel. I'm walking, he's pivoting, we're both doing ballet badly. So, I said conversationally, you died in like 1801, but you're haunting a house built in 2003. The math ain't mathin'. Did you get lost? Like, did you follow a pigeon and end up here? Be honest. He inhaled gloom like a vape. Spirits are bound to power, not brick. This place is thin. The veil is worn. Ooh, the veil, I said, wiggling fingers. So mystical. Sounds like a Temu collection. He glared. Hallowed ground. Is that your catchphrase? I said. Do you get points if you say it 5 times? Is a punch card going to appear and the 6th one gets a free exorcism? Boy. He dropped the reverb and just talked like a tired teacher. You stand where men bled and children wept. You stand on sorrow. Sounds like my Auntie Carol's house before she got arrested, I said. And for a microsecond, I got serious. Because yeah, okay. Britain is just a patchwork of sad things piled up. But then he ruined it by swishing his cape like he was in a perfume ad, and I remembered I'm petty. But also, I added, this house. Council house. Laminate. They installed this the same year Busted dropped year 3000. What are you doing here, Uncle Time Machine? Do not call me Uncle. Grandad? He clenched his spectral fist so hard the air squeaked. Your tongue speaks nonsense. It speaks fluent internet, actually, I said. Maybe you're just, region locked to Old English. Download the patch. What patch? Language DLC. Slang expansion pack. We have Riz now. He tilted his head. The top hat not moving because it's glued to law. Riz? Charisma speedrun, I explained. I have it. You don't. Sorry, not sorry. He blinked 5 times slow. I am a shadow of death. Did I ask? I survived year 9 group projects. We're not the same. At this point, I could see the existential crisis shimmering under his ectoplasm like a midlife crisis, but post-life. He tried to loom, but we were in a narrow hallway. He hit the lampshade. He hissed. The lampshade tilted like it was judging him. I laughed. Internally. Externally, I smirked like a smug anime side character. Also, I went on, if ghosts are real, where are the 2010 ones? Where's the ghost who just appears and dabs ironically? Where's the Vine ghosts? 6 seconds of haunting and then they vanish. Where's the ghost who says, 6, 7? I feel unrepresented. He looked like he wanted to die again. I do not understand you. That's okay, I said gently. #growth. Not everyone gets me. I'm a little weird, a little silly, a little cringe, a little Sigma. You are little. It's not about size. The floor groaned, either from the weight of his history or my personality. What's in here? I peeked into the 4th door because I'm nosy. Inside, the master bedroom. Big window, long curtains like Victorian legs, an old wardrobe, a bed with a mattress this time, slay, covered in a tarp, unslay. I pulled the tarp corner because my intrusive thoughts were winning. Underneath, a perfectly normal, bland, beige bed. I recoiled. Ew, beige jump scare. The ghost drifted next to me like a nosy neighbour. This was someone's, I finished. Yeah. For a second, we were both quiet. The kind of quiet where you hear your own heart doing TikTok dances. Then he tried the jump scare. My guy flickered lights that didn't exist, made the curtains breathe, whispered into my ear from both sides at once, Leave! Except the whisper had stadium echo by accident, and the last syllable sounded like a Mario dying sound. I snorted. I couldn't help it. My laughter came out like a teapot. Sorry, I said. No, sorry. Tech issues? Be quiet. I can't, I said truthfully. ADHD. Why do you not fear me? IDK, I said. Therapy. SSRI. Maybe because you're cosplaying the concept of a warning label. Also, I'm on stream. I gestured vaguely to my phone. Turns out fear statistically goes down 70% when you chat spam skull emojis and calls you king. Chat. King of ghosts. Ratio the poltergeists. He hovered, squinting at the phone like he couldn't see himself. What is that? Rectangle of pain. It captures souls. Only if you let it, I said, then winked because I'm allergic to sincerity. If you will not leave, he announced, drawing himself up like a Victorian PowerPoint, then I shall tell you the tale of this place, and you will know terror. Ooh, law dump, I said, lying on the beige bed tarp like it was a picnic blanket of sorrow. I propped my chin on my hands. Go off, Grandad, but can you make it like 60 seconds? Short form attention span. He glared so hard a crack formed in the far wall. It was probs already there, but I'll give him the point. Long ago. Timer starts now, I said. Long ago, he repeated, louder. Men. This land was a field. A chapel stood where this bed lies. A sexton dug graves in frozen earth. The winter of... You're losing me. 1801 was hard. Children starved. The poor died in the streets. And a great fire... Okay, that one's new. Took the chapel. Bodies unburied. Spirits unrested. I, a humble... Humble is a red flag, dude. A humble man fell into the flames trying to save... Skill issue, I muttered. He ignored me like a teacher ignoring the class clown in the last 10 minutes of term. My remains were never found. My soul stayed. Years passed. Bricks rose over bones. Walls over whales. I haunted what stood here. For it stood where I fell. That is why I am here. Okay, not gonna lie. That got me in the feels, like 2% goosebumps. Just a sprinkle. But then he crossed his arms like, gotcha. And I remembered my mission. #bully. So you're saying, I said slowly, you're basically like location services. Always share my spook with this point on the map. Neat. But again, how come no 2016 ghost? Where's the teen who died listening to One Direction and now haunts people whisper singing What Makes You Beautiful? Who? This is so sad. Alexa, play Despacito, I whispered to myself. He tilted his head. The hat did not tilt. You mock what you don't understand. No, I mock what I do understand also, I said. It's equal opportunity roast. That's the British way. Anyway, spook me harder. Maybe I'll weep. Give me a demon centipede with eyelashes. I want production value. His eyes flashed like someone turned up the ghostness slider. The temperature plummeted again. Low battery winter. The curtains breathed in. The shadow under the bed grew thick and syrupy, stretching long like it had a yoga class. From the corner, the wardrobe door slowly creaked ajar. I raised one brow because I'm sexy and unimpressed. The wardrobe's darkness had teeth. Okay, cute. The unseen choir hummed one note in a minor key, and even Fernando in the toilet shivered in solidarity. I stood up, stretched like a cat, and said, "This house has an echo. Do you pay for that?" You are insufferable. Yeah, my mum says that too, I said fondly. He did the big boo, like the big one. He surged tall, filling the ceiling, becoming a negative space cut out of a man with a hole where his face should be. A choir screamed. 100 whispered voices crawled down the walls. The floor lifted like a heartbeat. I felt my own pulse go, "Hey Queen," in my throat, and I admit it. Goosebumps. 3% now. Respectable. Almost made me experience character development. So naturally, I clapped. Just a little golf clap. Ah, he tried. The ghost shrank like a salted slug. What do you want? He snapped finally, voice flat like batteries died. Do you want gold? Do you want to know the future, power, favour, to speak to a lost loved one? I want content, and also for you to admit that you got ratioed. Ratio? What is this ratio? I pointed at my phone. Chat was feral. See? If the comments cooked you more than you cook me, you got ratioed. Math. He stared. You reduce eternity to arithmetic. Yes, because numbers are scarier than you. I failed GCSE maths. We stood there in beige silence. He floated. I sprawled. Chat typed. Fernando thrived. Finally the ghost sighed. I have haunted men of war. I have knocked at the beds of dying men. I have blown out candles and unstopped hearts. I have worn the faces of loved ones to lure sailors from shore. I have... Catfish. Okay, Neville Longbottom, I said. He deflated. You ruin everything. True, I said cheerfully. So why aren't there new ghosts? Like, technology kills us too now. Where's the haunted razor scooter, the possessed vape that whispers, you up at 3 a.m? Where's the spirit that just opens your Spotify and boosts Mr. Brightside plays? He stared at a corner like he was reading patch notes. Maybe new ghosts do not stay, he muttered eventually. Maybe they do not know how to linger. Maybe the world is too loud for them. Maybe they are drowned in your brightness. That actually hit, like 6% goosebumps. I stared at him. He stared at me. And for a second, I forgot to be a goblin. That's kind of poetic, not gonna lie. Voice softer, like the inside of a hoodie pocket. You think we're too noisy? Yes, he said instantly, and then softer. But maybe that's good. Dead are heavy, you are light. Even when you are cruel, you are light. We blinked at each other. Mutual jump scare. Empathy, ugh, I hate it. But also my eyes got that prickly feeling you get when you think about your mum's hands making you tea. I cleared my throat with a joke-shaped cough. Bestie, you are simping hard right now. No. Okay, boundaries, slay. Why are you like this? ADHD. What? Don't worry about it. He floated an inch closer, curiosity growing like a headlight. What did you call me? Boomer? Yeah. What is Boomer? Elder, I said. Grandad, Lord of Coupons, Emperor of back in my day. Moderately radioactive. He considered. I was born in 1801. Okay, so like pre-Boomer. You're Kaboomer. Do not. Kaboomer. He rubbed his temples with fingers you could see through. I have spoken to sinners and saints. I have spoken to priests who wept. None were like you. Your words, they fall like... He gestured helplessly. Like small stones. Pebbles, I offered. Yes. You throw pebbles at my face. That's comedy, B. He stared. I'm leaving. What? Already? Well, lucky trauma bonding. I do not know what that means, but I refuse to learn. He backed down the hall, dematerializing with the energy of a man leaving a Facebook argument. Stay out of upstairs. He tried one last jab at Spooky. The stairs will... What? Gaslight me. Been there. I sat up. Wait, before you go, do the woo one more time and I'll add reverb manually in CapCut. No. Please. No. Okay, King. Consent. He paused. King? Yeah, chat crowned you. 1,000 skull emojis in the stream chat rose like confetti. King Poltergeist. Risless but regal. Uncle Time Machine. 1801. Kaboomer Supremacy. He stared at the phone. At me. At the ceiling. At the beige bed. At Fernando. Then he shook his head like a disappointed cat. This is all nonsense, he declared. I refuse. And with that, he literally Alt F4'd. He turned sideways to the world and fell out of it. You know when you close a window and it slides into itself? He did that. The curtains breathed out a sigh. Temperature nudged back towards you can feel your toes. Ambience downgraded from graveyard at 3 AM to grandma's house when the boiler works. I sat there on the tarp like a Victorian lady fainting. Oh, chat, we did it. We cooked a poltergeist. Nora. Slay! Taz. Bro, rage quit. Mia. Fernando W. Random. You saved my life, King. Mod. Time out anyone shipping OP and Ghost. Random 2. Too late, wrote a fanfic. I stood, stretched, filmed a little outro like a YouTuber had just survived a legally dubious collab. So guys, haunted house? Mid. Ghost? Incel. Me? Sigma. Subscribe or I'll haunt you recommended with beige beds. I winked. Then I immediately tripped over the tarp because karma is real and God laughs. The hallway felt less pressurized, like someone cracked a window in reality. I peeped into the child room again to check on Fernando. #thriving king. The bathtub mirror still said help, but now, in my reflection, someone had added a smiley face. I hate this country. I took one last spin with my flashlight, said bye mold, and headed to the stairs. The downstairs was warmer, smellier, so many smells, but familiar. I felt a weird pang, like I kinda missed the Kaboomer King already. Parasocial relationship with a ghost who negged me. Lol. I passed the living room. The TV static popped on for one frame and showed a top hat. I flipped it off affectionately. Okay, slay cameo. The front door opened with less creak and more squeak, like it got shy. The night outside did its whole damp British cosplay. My friends behind the bush exploded out like confetti cannons with legs. Bro, no way! What happened? Why are you smiling like that? Why do you smell like beige? I shrugged in French. The house gave me riz. We debriefed on the curb under a dying street lamp that flickered like my bank account. Taz said, so was there a ghost or was it just old? I said, yes. Nora asked, did you cry? I said, almost. Mia said, did you flirt? I said, with myself, as always. We walked back towards town, me narrating the highlights. Kaboomer, hallowed ground, Fernando, them gasping in the right places because they're supportive even when I'm insufferable. On the way, we passed the church, the real one, and the graveyard, busy. The headstones all shadowed and sus. I looked at the names and wondered who stuck around, who got swallowed by the loudness, and who chose silence. Britain's basically one big trauma layer cake. I got briefly poetic and immediately ruined it by stepping in a puddle and shrieking like I'd been shot. Back home, I uploaded the VOD with the title Poltergeist Schooled by Gen Z. He rage-quit the afterlife. Real. Gone emotional. The thumbnail was my dumb face mid-smirk, a top hat photoshopped floating behind me, big red arrows, skull emojis, Fernando cameo in the corner. I edited the ghost's audio glitches with a reverb plugin called Cathedral EXE and added captions like, "Ghost gets cooked, HD." Comments started rolling in like weird tumbleweeds. "Bro cooked in medium rare." "Kaboomer law clears." As a ghost, I can confirm we struggle with slang. "Fernando update?" Question mark. "Unsubbed because he disrespected Victorians." You resubbed later, obs. I did a follow-up short. Fernando is thriving. I didn't steal him from the haunted toilet. He's a sovereign citizen. 800k views. Brands in my emails like, "Hi, we'd like to sponsor your next haunting." Nature is healing. A week later, because I'm nosy with a side of arsonist, I went back to Dead End Lane, daylight run. The house looked smaller, like I'd levelled up and now all the early in-game enemies were cute. The council had slapped a notice on the door. Demolition scheduled. Timeline. Soon. It's Britain. I squinted. I pictured Kaboomer floating inside, arms crossed, hating bureaucracy. I put my hand on the door, softly respecting tetanus, and said, "Oi, if you're in there sulking, my bad." A breeze came from nowhere and ruffled my hair like a dad who tried. I didn't cry because I'm hard, but my throat did an ouch. That night I dreamed in beige. Not even scary, just beige. The ghost sat on the edge of the bed, not making a dent because physics, and stared at the curtains blowing. "You talk too much," he said, so fond it hurt. I said, "You too," because old habits die hard. We sat like that, listening to the silence that wasn't empty. Outside the window, in Dreamtown, Fernando grew to the size of a tree and threw shade on the whole street. I woke up smiling like a divorced dad who found a good bakery. Demolition Day arrived with hard hats and neon vests and men who said, "Cheers, boss," to each other. A small crowd gathered because British people will watch anything if it disrupts traffic. I went with Mia, Nora, Taz, and a meal deal. Crisp, sandwich, drink, culture. We stood behind the tape and did collectively that sad, excited face you do when change is happening and you're not emotionally ready. With the first swing of the big machine, the house coughed dust like a smoker quitting. Second swing, the roof folded like a bad poker hand. Third swing, the stairs that I disrespected splintered and whispered, "Bye upstairs, Ark." And then, I swear on Fernando's roots, in the dust cloud, a top hat rolled out like tumbleweed with a degree. It bumped into my shoe, paused, then stopped like it was tired. Same. I picked it up, felt it. Warm? Dusty? Historic? Silly? It felt like a prop and a relic and a joke. I turned it over. Inside were the letters AM etched. I looked at the demo guy like, "Can I?" And he shrugged in Brit and said, "In it." We took the hat home. I put it on the shelf between a rubber duck and a trophy that says Most Annoying 2014. Year 9 awards were brutal. The hat stared at my room like WTF is an LED strip. I went live. Unboxing a ghost hat. He hates it here. The comments ate it up. I didn't try it on because I'm not trying to get possessed with a man from 1801. He would hate my playlists. Nights got colder. Leaves did crunchy ASMR. Halloween slid into November like a drunk penguin. My life, still mid, but with a ghost hat. Sometimes, at 3:17 AM, the hat tilted itself a centimetre, like it was adjusting to watch me doom scroll. I'd say, "Go to bed, King." And a cold draft would say, "No, you." Once I sneezed and a whisper blessed me in Latin. No cap. Friends came over and were like, "Why is your room haunted by the concept of brogue menswear?" I said, "He's rebranding." Nora added a tiny plastic crown to the hat. The hat tolerated it. Every now and then, I get that beige dream. Me, him, the curtains, shared silence. No big speeches, no echo, just vibes. He'd grumble, "You use too many words," and I'd grumble back, "You use too much drama." And somewhere in the middle, we found a weird truce. I asked once, "You angry I roasted you?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Sorry." And he said, "No, you're not." And I said, "You're right." He laughed like a door gently sighing shut. One last thing. I went to the library. Yes, I read sometimes. And I looked up old maps because curiosity killed the cat. And there it was. 1800s parish chart saying something chapel, right where Dead End Lane is now. A little icon representing a building that burnt down in a winter with a name. The old paper smelled like a ghost breathed on it. I traced a finger over the spot and said, "Okay, you win." Not at him, but history. I took a photo, posted it with a caption, "Kaboomer was low-key correct. Annoying." In the comments, W, history arc. Jay can read? So, yeah. People still ask me, "Were you scared?" And I say, "Nah." Mostly because I'm insufferable, but also because fear is weird when humour lives in your throat like a parasite with jokes. I wasn't unfazed because I was brave. I was unfazed because my brain is a bounty castle and ghosts are just uninvited kids at the party. And also because, I guess, the world is loud. And sometimes the loud keeps the heavy away. Did the poltergeist get schooled? Yes, Your Honour. I cooked him medium rare with a side of British sarcasm. Did he deserve it? Honestly, he started it by being dramatic in my direction. Did I learn anything? IDK, man. Maybe that grief wears hats and jokes are just armour you can laugh inside? Anyway, I left that night, obviously. Ghost noped out first. He folded after 1 ratio like a deck chair on Brighton Beach, and I walked out like a little guy who just got away with something. Which I did. I got away with being young while the past watched and huffed and maybe smiled when I wasn't looking. And technically trespassing. That whole road's being rebuilt now anyway. Shiny new 4-beds with identical fences and zero personality. The lot where he used to be had a family in it for a while, but the husband got sectioned after trying to throw hands at his own reflection in the upstairs mirror. Looks like Uncle Grandad finally got his jump scare arc. Lol. But if you're ever nearby and you hear a posh ghost whisper, "Hallowed ground," say, "Okay, Boomer." He'll get it. We've got history. Subscribe, or I'll steal your top hat. Hi everyone, thanks for listening. I'm incredibly sorry. That story was originally written by me and then translated into Gen Z by my kids. I must admit, I don't even understand half the words I said, and I did have to Google skill issue myself, which my daughter then said was a skill issue. Anyway, I hope you liked it, and if you didn't like it, I hope you at least understood it more than I did. And I've tried my best on this, but if the sound quality's slightly off, like going up and down, that's because as I was reading it, sometimes I had to look away like this, to look my son dead in the eye and go, "What the fuck am I saying?" And I wasn't quite sure how to correct that. But anyway, here's a fun fact about Gen Z slang. It's basically linguistic jazz. It changes so fast that even Gen Z can't keep up with it. For example, bet started as a way to agree, like sure thing, but somehow also means watch me prove you wrong. Riz came from charisma, and within a year, people were saying Rizless and Rizgod, Delulu, delusional, went from an insult to a lifestyle. And it's giving doesn't even need an ending anymore. It's giving. That's it. Basically, every generation thinks they invented cool slang, but Gen Z is the first to make it expire in real time on TikTok. Good night. Who? This is so sad. Alexa, play Despacito.
Here's Despacito remix.
Alexa, stop. I whispered to myself.